a sinner, left my lover crying on the dance floor. I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner.
Welcome back.
はあ、まだかな、鈴鹿。
Ni no Hakoniwa, Dollhouse of Offerings.
おじいさま、もっと毅然となさっていてください。
It was the next morning, and there were people gathered at House Gosha's estate, waiting the visit of the Shiki Kyoko and Yasaka Karu.
そうは言ってもな、あの京子様に八坂の男だぞ。どんな組み合わせだ。ああ、腹が痛い。今から私だけ抜けてはダメかな。
おじいさま。
Gosha Suzuka glaring at her grandfather Kenji, who was head of the household.
そんなことをすれば、五社家は式家の挨拶など、こんな小娘だけで十分だと思っている。そう取られますよ。
それはダメだ。もっとダメだ。
Kenji was hunched over timidly, Suzuka rubbing his back to letting out a sigh. I just hope Kyoko-sama isn't stupid enough to see this and think we're trying to undermine House Shiki. Cool and collected, Suzuka had a mature air for her young age. She looked over the room.
聖司様、大丈夫ですか？
The young man who spoke was Riku Gao. I'm just gonna call him as Riku Tota, son of the Riku head and his first wife.
シージ、お腹痛いの？
The little girl was his half-sister, Sene.
ああ、心配しなくてもいいよ。じいじは大丈夫だからな。
Faced with his great-granddaughter, even Kanji had to put on a brave face. Or perhaps not exactly brave, but he gave her a half-hearted smile at least. What are they up to? Don't tell me. She was referring to Taichiro, head of the house Riku, and his wife Suzune, who was also Suzuka's older sister. Suzuka shook her head and pushed the absent couple out of her mind before she caught up in the thought.
ああ、早く来て早く楽になりたいな。
Kenji wasn't an incompetent man. He likely would have lost his position as head household years ago if he were. But he had never been the type who could stand up to the powerful personalities of the other house heads. And after enough time, servility became part of his personality. Dugan Shiki was never domineering toward him, but he loved to skirt the line, always asking him to provide certain goods to the village or to adjust his prices. But at least he was better than Futara Ryuken. Not to mention those degenerate Kazu, and how Sagusa wouldn't even give the time of day to a male like him. And House Yasaka was a den of snakes. Not that he ever got to deal with them except through the Shiki. A life like Madoka-sama's would be nice. House Ichikura may have been in decline, but their former glory made them too confident to be intimidated easily. The way Suzuka saw it, Ichikura Madoka had the life every woman dreamed about, spending her days close to her loving husband Tori. She believed that was what marriage was about, having a partnership, not one-sidedly submitting to some man. But such a relationship were rare on Nanawa Island, where lies and scheming prevailed. Suzuka was wise beyond her years by necessity, and she craved the support and equitable relationship. Of course, she couldn't help but let those desires color her impression of Kyoko's arranged marriage. Poor Kyoko-sama. I can't believe they're making her marry some monster the Yosaka created. Suzuka was in attendance partially out of morbid curiosity about what he would be like. She wanted to be there for Kyoko. Like when they were younger, she was sure the girl would be depressed. Personally, I'd like a proper husband.
トータ君、早苗、お前たちは大丈夫か？緊張で腹が痛むなら席を外していいぞ。
Don't spoil him.
しっかりしてじいじ。お兄様、一緒にさすりましょう。
うん。ひじじ様、気を確かに持ってください。
ああ、ありがとうな。
No way I'm getting stuck with someone like him. Suzuka tried to stay focused on her goal as she waited for their guests to arrive. You are an ugly motherfucker. Oh, you're an asshole, too.
どうして俺がわざわざ式のクソ女とやさかの化け物の挨拶なんぞ受けなきゃなんねえんだよ。
Meanwhile, a little ways away from the tatami room where the others were, the head of House Riku had locked himself in a guest bedroom with his wife, whom he was beating and kicking brutally. You're gonna be the first to go, aren't you?
動くんじゃねえ。顔に当たったら何言われるかわかんねえだろうが。
ごめん。
ほんと使えねえ女だな。まともに蹴られることもできねえのか。
Girl, you can do better.
ごめんなさい。蹴られま、かぶった。蹴られまし。
Let's give it to the voice actress for this one. She's doing good. The last kick sank deep into Suzun's abdomen. She withered and curled into a ball, clenching her stomach.
言ったそばから腹隠してんじゃねえぞ。ふざって。ああ、もう、なえた。くそなえた。
I'm sorry. What's going on with the males in this game? Toichiro wiped the sweat off his brow and quickly started to calm down. It was a routine for him to take out his frustrations on his wife. Now that he'd gotten his fill with casual violence, his mind easily shifted to other things. He started getting dressed when he looked down at his wife vomiting all over the floor.
おい、汚さないでくれないか。
申し訳ありません。
Suzanne rose to her feet unsteadily and tried to do the same. Suzune rose to her feet unsteadily and tried to do the same, but her clothes were stained and reeked with vomit.
そろそろ式家のお二人が来てもいい時間だが、お前はそれじゃあ無理だな。
Any man who can switch like that is going to kill someone, or probably already has. Totichiro grabbed Suzune by the clean part of her collar and pulled her close.
せっかく顔はそのままにしてやったのに、何吐いてんだよ。俺の我慢どうしてくれんだ？
The force of the punch sent Suzune stumbling backwards, and she fell back to the floor.
そこでゲロ食って掃除してろ。 てめえの実家なんだから勝手はわかるだろ。綺麗にできてなかったら顔で続きだ。
Suzerain looked from her husband to the vomit, with tears in her eyes, seeing that gave Tuchiro a nice sense of catharsis. Bro, you better be the first. Now I finally feel like I can handle this damn meeting. He nodded to himself, satisfied, and strolled away toward the tatami room. Man, I can't wait to see how she cleans up that one. Touchio puffed out his chest, and his face took a demented grin. Of course I'm gonna beat her either way. What the fuck?
いやー、申し訳ありません。妻の調子が悪いようで席を外させていただきました。
When he was back in the tatami room, Tochiro shifted his expression to a smile and bowed politely. Suzuka wanted to sigh when she saw him. You've got to be kidding me. She knew he was beating his wife, her older sister. Their grandfather Kanji knew as well.
それでは仕方ないな。
You're a coward.
京子様には勘弁していただきましょう。
But no one would do anything about it. House Gosha had grown weaker over the years. They were in no position to endanger their ties with House Riku. Both families were caught between the demand of the Shiki and the Futara, and whichever one they obliged to, the other would take it personally. They had a lot in common, and the Riku were saner in their eyes than some of the other houses. Together they were capable of so much more than they were alone. These men always picked the worst of both worlds. If you ask Suzuka, they should have joined forces with House Shiki long ago. Unfortunately, her grandfather insisted that he wanted to maintain decent ties with the Futara as well. And that was the same approach House Riku favored.
鈴鹿さん、どうかしましたか？
You're a scum. Of course, Kanji was one thing, but Tochiro was absolute scum to her. House Riku's political position made him feel weak, so he made himself feel strong by taking his frustrations out on his wife. It was on an entirely different level from her grandfather. She felt sorry for her sister Suzune, but she also didn't understand why she didn't speak up about what he did to her.
いいえ、姉が心配ですが、ここは実家です。自分で何とかするでしょう。
What's wrong with me? Why don't I just say anything either? Year after year, she just kept hoping for the day when she would marry into a better family, when she would be free.
お父様、僕、鈴音さんについています。
お兄様、私も。
いや、お前たちはここにいなさい。
He put a hand on each of his children's shoulders and took them in the eyes.
鈴音の代わりにしっかりと京子様にご挨拶するんだよ。
うん、わかった。
お兄様、一緒にご挨拶しよう。
そうだな。早苗、ちゃんと挨拶できる？
できるよ。でも一緒がいい。
I see they're as close as ever. The thought of what Tochiro might do to Sanene when she got a little older filled Suzuka with disgust.
鈴鹿、耐えてくれ。な。
ええ、分かっています。私もそのくらいの分別はつきますし、道理もわきまえる年齢ですから。
Rich. Everybody incest here. They rich.
そうか。なら、いいんだ。
No, it's not good. Is he listening to himself talk? To her, it was just another reminder that she couldn't trust any man from the 7 noble houses. She felt like she was starting to understand why the female supremacist house, Sugusa, rejected men outright. So go join them.
おっと、いらしたようです。私がご案内しますので、どうぞ皆様お待ちください。
House Gosha couldn't afford servants, so when the guest arrived, someone from the family had to get the door for them. I was supposed to show them in, but he beat me to it. There's a joke in there somewhere.
なあ、鈴鹿。八坂の婿殿はどんな方だろうな。いきなり取って食われたりせんよな。
どうでしょう。
私知ってる。八坂はもののけなんだよね。
Someone duct tape this girl's mouth.
こら、早苗。そんなこと絶対に言っちゃダメだ。
はーい。わかりました。お兄様。
Sene clung to Tota and nodded obediently. I wonder. The Osaka estate was very far from Nanawa village. They almost never met any of them. In fact, Suzuka had never seen a Osaka in person. But she had heard some of them had hands or feet 3 times the size of a normal person, or even that they had horns, or that the corners of their eyes drooped like all the way to their jaw, like some kind of oni. The stories made it sound like they were hardly human at all.
でも式家に婿殿を送り届けた者たちはもののけではなかったそうですよ。
そうか。なら少しは期待できるかな。
Hope? Suzuka scoffed at the thought. Poor Kyoko-sama. I know they wanted to have children, but a Yasaka? After as far as Suzuka was concerned, or most of the people in Nanawa village for that matter, they might as well have made her marry a horse or a cow or even a dog.
こちらです。遠いところご足労いただきありがとうございます。
Tochiro was putting on a humble and polite act when he returned. The footsteps of those behind him didn't suggest any displeasure or reluctance. Is she happy? Suzuka didn't have time to think about it because Shiki Kyoko strolled in looking like the happiest woman on earth the very next moment, and right behind her, the Yasaka man walked in and sat down. She was speechless.
皆さん、ほぼお揃いですね。こちらが私の夫となる。
八坂九郎です。どうぞ、お見知りおきください。
これはまた。惜しい殿方ですな、京子様。
そうでしょう。とても頼りになる私の殿です。
I really do like that picture. She's just so cute.
恐縮です。
She's going to fucking snap at some point. Like, she's so darn unhinged and adorable right there. It's one of those where you're like, oh. You're just like, oh. No, this is bad. Suzuka couldn't believe her eyes. She was in shock. He's the monster, the Yasuka, really? Wait, how? Why is he normal? Or, I mean, he's kind of hot? Oh no, he's hot. What did grandfather say? Dashing? That's one way to put it. He's a real man.
かっこいい。
Everyone gonna call Yasaka. Hey, I'd like to order me a man. Yeah. One that doesn't beat women? Yeah. One that does whatever? Yeah. Yeah, I'll take 5. Thanks, bye.
私はお兄様の方が好きです。
Yeah, no, make it more obvious what those two do.
うん。
The coffin of Andy and Lele. This isn't a dream. Suzuka rubbed her eyes and looked again at Kaoru. The Yasaka seemed to notice. He grinned back at her with a friendly, if goofy, smile. What is this feeling? I'm a little afraid of him, but I also feel nice. Horny. Her eyes landed on Tochiro when she rushed to turn away her gaze. He kept his head down, remaining bowed to Kyoko's fiancé and trembling. Perhaps he was just surprised as Suzuka was to see how the Yasaka defied his expectations. Suzuka still felt bad for Kyoko, but she was delighted to see him feeling intimidated. Serves you right, bitch. Suzuka would have stuck her tongue out at him if she thought she could get away with it.
御社の港には四季家も八坂も世話になっています。よろしくと道元様もおっしゃっていました。
そんな恐れ多い。
While Kenji spoke to Kyaru, Suzuka was admiring the man's face. He isn't quite like I expected. He's going to be Kyoko-sama's husband, though, huh? He can take a mistress girl? Oh, no, you can't. No, absolutely not. No, Kyoko might actually kill you. The tap on her shoulder suddenly snapped her out of her thoughts.
あら、そんなに驚かないで。
Kyoko giggled. Suzuka hadn't noticed her sitting down next to her. The last time they met hadn't been that long ago, but she was like a completely different woman. There was a hint of red to her cheeks, and her every movement seemed incredibly feminine and voluptuous.
あの人を慕っているんですね。
もちろん。
Kyoko sounded excited, and there was a big smile on her face.
ごめんなさいね、静香ちゃん。
Suzuka didn't know what she was apologizing for, but before she could ask, Kyoko lowered her voice and continued.
あなたが市倉様みたいに互いに思い合う夫婦に憧れてるのは知ってるけど。
She is about to tell you. And trust me, this is coming from a girl. I know what's about to happen. She's about to tell you, if you go near her man, you're going to lose a tit. She is going to threaten your ass in about 2 seconds. Kyoko was still smiling, but suddenly Suzuka felt she wanted to cry. Oh, or
先
not.
に幸せになっちゃった。あなたも頑張ってね。
Oh, I thought it was going to be a threat. No, she's going to be professional in this. I guess that makes sense. They're not hood trash. It was afternoon, and Kyaru and Kyoko had finished up with House Gosha and House Riku a little early. The two of them had just ridden a ship across the bay, and Kyaru was stretching to ease his nerves.
クロウさんのそんなところを見るのは珍しいですね。
いや睡蓮はしてたけど京子と一緒だと緊張が違うよ。いざって時は抱きかかえて岸まで泳がなくちゃいけないからね。
It would have been nice to see like the background be the ship, but I get it.
先に言っていただければ一生懸命に飛び込みましたのに。
Oh, she's wet
水に濡れ
already.
てクロウさんに抱きしめられてやりたかったです。
御社と陸号の人が困るからやめて正解だな。
私にとっては不正解です。ああ、もう気を取り直しましょう。
そうだな。時間はあるし。で、なんで君は残ってるの？
Oh shit, she's been following them. Kyaru turned around to look at Gosha Suzuka, who was standing a little bit away from him and Kyoko.
そうですね。静香ちゃん、もうお仕事は終わりでしょ？
Suzuka was shaking like a frightened rabbit when she revealed herself, and she kept glancing at Kyaru.
もしかして京子に言われたのが気になったとか？
So people don't know this because you can't tell usually when I pause. Was in the Discord just a minute ago, talking about Lovecraft and cookbooks. You guys should really join the Discord at some point. It's weird.
そんなことは。
喜びのあまり自慢しすぎたかもしれません。
Kyoko paused for a moment, and then an apologetic expression came over her face.
振り返ってみれば性格の悪い言い方をしていました。クロウさんも聞いていましたよね。
まあ、うん。
幻滅しないでください。普段からこうでないのはクロウさんもお分かりのはずです。あれはむしろ静香ちゃんもこんな素敵な殿方を見つけなければいけませんよと言いたかったんです。
Reluctantly, Suzuka nodded.
ですからどうか私を悪女などとは思わないでください。私は純粋にクロウさんを慕っていて、その発露がちょっと悪くて漏れてしまったんです。
分かってるよ。京子にそういう面があることくらい今更だろ。
So I've heard people. Okay, so I want to go on something. I've heard people talking about how they think Japanese voice acting is better than American. That's not always true, but one of the reasons I think it is because they also do a lot of drama CDs and things like that, so they get a lot more practice with doing different things. I think it would benefit here if we did that, because we never do like the drama CDs and things like that. It'd be really fun if we got to. But that's something I've heard. I personally, yeah, there's bad voice acting in all countries. Don't think that they always do great. I've heard some bad Japanese voice acting. I just think people have this automatic hatred for English voice acting because of Funimation, and yes, you absolutely, I agree with that. They are terrible behind the scenes and other things they've done. But I think that does a disservice for voice actors from other groups that do try their best, and not everybody at Funimation is terrible. Like, they have some good people behind the scenes. I just think, again, it's also a meme, but, like, you do have people that are working hard on both sides. So don't forget that.
本当にお分かりいただけましたか？
あ
本当ですか？
And again, I'm nowhere near professional, and you people still watch my stuff.
本当だ。
確かめましょう。
With that, Kyoko threw herself into Kaoru's arms and started nuzzling his chest.
本当です。これは本当ですね。
だからそう言ってるだろう。あと鈴鹿ちゃんがすごい目で見てるし、他の人にも見られてるよ。
わざとだからいいんです。ここでクロウさんへの偏見を払拭しつつ、私との仲を見せつけなければなりません。
She crazy.
これは婿としての使命ですよ。わかりましたか？
He's just enjoying this now. He's enjoying it now.
往来の真ん中でこんな幸せです。
Pick her up and throw her in the ocean. Suzuka had raised her voice. Kyoko suddenly stopped moving, still clinging to Kiaru.
どうかしましたか、鈴鹿ちゃん。
いやさかってクロウさんみたいな人ばかりなんですか？
いいえ、違いますよ。ね、クロウさん。
Kyoko took a step away from him. Her cheeks were still flushed, but he could see how her tone became more guarded. He told Suzuka plainly.
人の形を満足に保っているのが半分。中身まで人なのがさらに半分だな。まあ、俺は俺で常識に欠けていて、まだ口調が安定していないところもあるし、誰であれ、一長一短だろ
う。そう。
Go get you one of the human ones. It seems I have disappointed her. Judging from the way Kyoko spoke to her, it appeared Suzuka was hoping there would be a Yusaka like him for her, but there was no denying that it would be a tall order. After all, a family business was what it was. Even if she found one to marry, she would probably be unhappy with his lack of social skills or common sense. Kyoko, on the other hand, may like me too much. Kyoko smiled at Kaoru when she noticed him staring at her blankly.
いいですか、鈴鹿ちゃん。
Then she looked at Suzuka's hand, got intimately close and whispered into her ear.
大事なのは見初めたら忘れず、離さず、何があっても手に入れることです。
Damn.
どんな人だろうとずーっと慕い続ければ素敵になります。
Stalk him, I don't give a shit.
その結果がどうなるかなんて考えても線のないことですよ。 女の一年岩をも通すです。
京子様。
Suzuka bit her lip and squeezed Kyoko's hand, then nodded.
私探します。あんなろくでなしどもじゃないちゃんとした人を。いっそ島の外でも構いません。
I have a feeling that actually maybe the smartest thing you can do is get off this island.
その意気です。
Both of the young women took on a renewed vigor. Suzuka then took several deep breaths and turned to Kaoru.
クロウ様ありがとうございます。私自分の足で八坂でも探してみます。
I mean, you can buy one. You can buy one.
応援してるよ。
はい。それではお邪魔しました。
After bowing to them politely, Suzuka strode away, looking determined. Kaoru watched with Kyoko as she went, though the thought struck him.
もしかして京子があんなこと言ったのって鈴鹿ちゃんが自分に似てるから？
どうでしょう。物欲しそうにしているからダメですよ、あげませんよって言いたかっただけかもしれません。
With that, Kyoko swung around and looked toward the shops.
今の私はクロウさんのこと以外よくわかりません。そのくらいいっぱいなんです。
Look at how pretty this artwork is. Gosh, I love it. So is this the same art as Nikopata?
そうなのか。
クロウさん、わかっていますよね。
He thought over the last few days since he had met Kyoko and responded with a nod.
わからない気はしないな。
これは足りませんね。まだまだまだまだ分かっていただかなくては困ります。
そうだな。
そうですとも。だってこの先私たち夫婦になるんですから。以心伝心とまでは言いませんが、
もっと察せるようになろ
では私が今何を望んでいるのかわかりますか、お婿さん。
After considering what kind of things would most likely make her happy right then, Kyoko held out his arms toward her.
う。どうぞ。
では遠慮なく、ではなくて、非常に飛び込みたいですが、この場所でクロウさんとしたいのはしたいですけどダメで違いますよね。
抱き合ってズリズリ動くのが好きだと思ったんだが。
正解ですが外れてます。もう仕方ありませんね。
Eagerly, Kyoko held out her own hand.
これでわからなかったら怒りますよ。
嘘だな。
怒ります。
京子が俺を怒るとは思えない。
怒ってますから早くしてください。
Curiously, Kyaru took the hand Kyoko had extended toward him.
ありがとうございます。やっぱりクロウさん分かってるじゃないですか。
手をつなぐだけでいいのか？普段はもっといろいろしてるのに。
それもそうですけど、これは特別なんです。
Kyoko was clenching his hand tightly. Her palm was sweaty and cold.
慕っている方と手を取り合ってお買い物。夢がまた一つ叶いました。
そもそも買うものがあるのか？
ご心配なく、たくさんあります。必要なくともクロウさんと買います。
察しが悪かったし、とことん付き合おう。
では参りましょう。
Kyoko's grin stretched all the way across her face as she and Kaoru started walking.
おい、 あれ
京子様だ。ってことは、あれが八坂の。
誰だよ、化け物とか言ってたの。
Nearly everyone they passed stopped to gawk at them. Of course, people had been staring at them the whole time. This must be what Kyoko was talking about earlier.
クロさん、まずはあそこですよ。その後、甘味を食べましょう。でも、お昼が先ですね。
落ち着かなくてもいいから、しっかりね。
しっかりします。
Kiaru noted the contrast between Kyoko's anxiety and excitement and his own sense of calm, even with the way she was dragging him around. Of course, they weren't doing anything significant enough for him to have an opinion on it. And he couldn't help but value his own inner stillness. Besides, he had even cracked a smile without meaning to. Perhaps I'm starting to learn. With that thought, he set aside his lingering doubts about the exchange he had witnessed between Kyoko and Suzuka. Kyoko's...
すごく見られています。私たち、どこから見ても、新婚夫婦ですよ。クロさん、聞いてますか？
Wait, how long has someone been looking at me? So he's losing his edge. That's not good. So that's where we're going to leave it. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget to check out my other channel, Sinfully Pure, and check out my shop for lots of spooky fun. And check out all the other links in the description. Bye, everybody!